South Hill Experiment, live from the Annenberg Performance Studio on Morning Becomes Eclectic, 89.9 KCRW. Also in front of a live audience. Hello, live audience. Oh, so great to see you here and enjoy this incredible music on a Wednesday. Hello to the South Hill Experiment.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
I gotta say, you guys have already played 3 of my favorite songs so far of yours.
Very glad we could help.
But I like all of them, so.
Oh, thanks.
It's
All
not
downhill
hard.
from here, right?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. That last song, it kind of reminds me of like Tonight, 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 that Genesis Phil Collins song. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
Vaguely.
vaguely, yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, music is universal. The ideas all exist around us at all times. And I feel like you would understand that too, being that are you dressed as mad scientist right now? Are these lab coats?
Sort of mad scientists meets like middle school art teachers.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
old school art teachers. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have some profound experiences with your old school art teachers at one point?
No, but my middle school art teacher actually taught Tupac back in the day. So
Wait,
that's a nice
okay.
connection.
I need more info on this. Please
Or
tell
her
me
daughter
more.
dated Tupac.
I think her daughter dated
Yeah,
Tupac.
sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dated and taught, or just dated?
Don't quote me. No, I'm not.
Okay, back to you all. So we're talking about back in Baltimore, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Which is where you all are from. And I'm just so curious, like, I can just see all of the talent and creativity and like playfulness oozing out of you. And so I imagine you in this environment being kids that was just like really nurturing playfulness and talent and togetherness. And I'd like to know more about what spawned the beginnings of the mad scientists / art teachers.
Totally. Well, we were super lucky to have a very nurturing and creative, supportive environment growing up. And a lot of our friends made art and made music, and growing up, we would just play in the backyard, in the alley behind the house and everything with all of our neighbors. And I think that we've kind of tried to channel that, inner child spirit in the music. And that's part of why we started the South Hill Experiment was to basically be able to try to recapture as much of that childhood kind of joy and playfulness and just genuine experimentation. Like, we don't really know what's going to happen, and that's kind of exciting musically, and I think that leads to happy accidents and leads to good, hopefully leads to good writing and good, experiments in the studio and everything.
Yes, it has been so far. And you mentioned like sort of recapturing that childhood spirit. Did you feel like, I mean, you guys have done a lot of music as individual artists or working with other artists before you came together to do the South Hill Experiment. In doing those other projects, did you feel like there's points where you lost some of that like playfulness or that fun, freewheeling, happy accident childhood essence?
Totally, yeah. I think the South Hill Experiment was kind of born out of a reaction to the music industry a little bit, where there's too much right brain or executive thinking, and it's a little bit too planned. And we didn't really plan on starting a band that would make it onto Morning Becomes Eclectic, actually.
We were just jamming and having fun and
Yeah.
writing it, and it turned out that felt like the thing we most wanted to put forward into the world after a little bit.
Isn't that something? It's like one of those love stories where it's like, it was you all along. Like making the music together that lands you on Morning Becomes Eclectic, right?
Right.
And so it's interesting you say, sort of like the happy accident thing, and then paired against the idea of things being like very planned and sort of overthought in the music industry. And I kind of feel like with what you guys do, there's like a balance between that, because there's the jam element, which is like freewheeling, like let's just see what happens. But then there's so much like a deliberate feeling and the different ideas that you end up putting into each track, and even the rollout of how you presented your music. Like it was like, I remember, I think about a year ago, I got an email and it was like, okay, this is coming in 3 parts. First, we have this album, which was Moonshots.
Moonshots.
Then we're gonna have Sunstrikes. Like, I already knew the plan, you know what I mean? And so it's an interesting balance that you guys have. Do you feel that where it's like, you wanna have a planned out vision, but then also still have that like free energy happening?
Yeah, you gotta like finish what you started. So I think our idea is like, we'll set out this structure, this sandbox, and then when the sandcastle's ready, we're gonna show it to everybody. But we're not gonna just like play around in the studio like indefinitely and then kind of, throw our hands up in the air. So no matter what, we'll put out more music. We'll just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the experiment, is that is the releasing it is for us is all part of the same experiment. It's like, well, okay, what if instead of like, all right, we're gonna push one single for a year or something and hope it goes viral or something. What if instead we just keep making new stuff, keep putting out new music? You know, you can still go back and listen to the older stuff too. We just want to be able to. We want the releasing it to feel as much like part of the creative process as possible. And I think that's a big reason why we're trying to put out so much music so quickly.
Yeah, and the way you've been releasing it is really creative. I mean, you ran a marathon in order to launch the second album, right?
That's right. Still haven't recovered.
You still haven't recovered, really?
No, yeah, in Ventura, I ran a marathon last summer, and we filmed it, and in order to announce Sunstrikes, which was our second album, which came out in December.
Right, and so were you already planning on running a marathon, or were you like, we have to do something big and bold to announce our music?
I'd wanted to run one for a long time, but I hadn't trained at all, so I trained sort of in order.
Maybe you should share now. I don't know. It sounds like it just.
I'm gonna switch. Okay. Yes, I was already going to run a marathon, but that's sort of a big part of what we were trying to do in general with South Hill. Like for our first album, we did a 24-hour straight jam. Most people didn't know about it because we hadn't put out, not even for our first album, for our first single.
First
song. For Chameleons, when we released it, we released the song in the middle of a 24-hour continuous live jam. Doing a marathon for this.
Never gonna do that again.
Yeah, we're never. I don't know what we're gonna do for the third album yet. If anyone has any ideas, DM us.
So you said the third album. So right now you have. No, it's okay.
I said shoot.
So you did just release an EP, but that's not considered the album, right?
No.
Okay, and then the third album is like the final part of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Right? Is your mic working?
I hope so. I can't tell.
I think this one is. Yes. Yes. All right. The third album. The third album is part of a trilogy. We are not going to have it out within 1 year of the first one, which is the original plan, but it'll hopefully be shortly after that.
Dang, you guys are slipping already.
Yeah.
They're sharing a mic now. It's just the power. I mean, okay, listen. First of all, for you listening right now, there are 2 drum sets in the room. There's all kinds of like doodads and stuff all in here, and I think you just like overwhelmed our little microphones here. So if you don't mind sharing one, that would be fantastic.
That's fine.
So I'm curious, you said that kind of what you're doing is like to get away from the idea of like making pop music, although I do still hear like catchy pop things in what you do. Have there been any like quote unquote pop artists that you know or maybe are newly coming to know that are like, we want what you're doing now with the South Hill experiment?
Yeah, there's been a bit of that. I'm not sure how many names we should name on music that isn't out yet, but
if you give us hints.
I'll give you a hint. Yeah, I'll give hints. I mean, you might be able to call her possibly.
Oh.
We did a session that was really fun. Yeah, and yeah, it's been fun. I mean, we love pop music too. Like I think that part of the appeal with South Hill isn't just to make exactly what we want to make at that moment, and to encourage all of our friends who make music and make other art to make what they feel is most is like connects with them at that moment, and not try to worry too much about what other people think about it. Because I think that it's the sort of overly self-critical mindset that I certainly struggle with, and that a lot of people I know struggle with, especially people who make things. And big part of the experiment is like, what if you just try to set that aside, and be intentional about setting that aside, and if that leads to a great pop song, that's awesome. If it leads to some, ambient jazz, which I love too, as much, that leads to that.
I heard one time oftentimes in like great 2-people partnerships, there's a generator and an accelerator. And there's like fluctuation in between. We're not all like just one thing or the other. And like the generator would be the person that like generates the ideas, and then the accelerator kind of like is the person that accelerates the ideas. Yeah. Do you guys find that's happening, or are you both like generators and accelerators all at once?
I think what's nice is we can kind of just switch places. Yeah. So I'll play something and Gabe will engineer, Gabe will play something and I'll engineer. One of us will change what the other person's playing, vice versa. So we try to be pretty fluid, I think.
Yeah. And the other thing that's really stood out to me that I noticed in your album is a manifesto. Not every band has a written out manifesto. Is that for us to understand better who you are? Is it a reminder to yourselves of who you are so you don't slip into the non-playfulness of it all?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's about trying to kind of stay on track with what we originally set out, and not, get corrupted.
Yes. Well, in the manifesto at the very end, it says, the most exciting time to make music is always right now.
Yeah.
So let's make some more music. What do you guys
do it.
think? All right. The South Hill Experiment.
Thank you, Novena.
Thanks so much, guys, for coming through. This is amazing. Live on Morning Becomes Eclectic, it is 89.9 KCRW from the Annenberg Performance Studio.